Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elian's Joy today. Namaste. I am glad you're here, and I'm glad you're watching this episode of Elian's Joy on Win Win Women TV. I am surrounded by most wonderful, amazing show hosts, and we love giving you information and sharing every week. I always say hashtag sharing is caring, right? So glad to be here today with you. We're going to talk a little bit about my work and my work as a life coach. And I want to introduce a couple of concepts to you that I always talk about. What is it that a life coach does? I have been coaching for about 8 years in a capacity of a counselor more, a coach more for people in active addiction and helping them not just through movement and through yoga and meditation to help support their recovery, but also to just listen to them and help them with some life experience. And ultimately, I made that life coaching a professional certification and my profession. I love helping people. I love doing what I do. And it is something that I noticed that we all need nowadays. That's why I called this show kind of like what we do know, but we don't do, because coaching has a lot to do with giving not so much advice or helping people through the past, right? There would be a counseling or a therapist job, but it has a lot to do with getting people to move and see forwards and help with goal setting, help with planning, help with anxiety and depression. I have clients with PTSD. I have clients with some severe trauma, but we're not really so much going back to what happened in the past, but definitely doing a lot of planning going forward. So that is really important if you're coaching and if you're working with people to kind of see going forwards, to making a path, to make something that you can be hopeful and excited about. As I always say and share with you, I call that the exciting anxiety, right? We have to have something to look forward to. And that helps a lot with anxiety and with depression and getting out of that funk that we might be in. We might feel stuck. A lot of us feel stuck. I also work with people through grief and work with people that have lost loved ones. I work with people that are feeling that they don't have a purpose and kind of like, well, what am I doing now, right? And I call myself many times one of the niche that I would use is midlife and transformation coach, because it is not that you cannot have an amazing second life in life, and it is not the truth that you cannot find your way, your path, your goal, the things that you would love to do, even if you have raised a family all your life and then all of a sudden you're by yourself, or you lose a loved one and you have been together all your life. So what a coach really does is helping, some kind of an accountability, right? And helping with lots of exercises. We got books full of forms, exercises and paperwork, and just kind of make you see inside yourself, and then just establish some new habits, establish some new patterns and moves going forward. Establish a new outlook. That's kind of your transformation, right? A new outlook on life and the things that you might get happy about and excited about again. And just go into a new form of happiness. It doesn't always have to compare with the past. It definitely does not have to relate to the past. We can just start anew and create some new mindset, a new mindset for ourselves, a new way of thinking. Maybe we just feel stuck because all these things that are caused, all these symptoms of anxiety are just caused by things that we feel and experience with that are related to the past. And sometimes are related to negative thinking, or sometimes related to a false form of thinking, right? And just that happens a lot. That we just have these difficult ways of getting through things just because we always did it that way, or we were taught that way. We didn't know any other way to look at things. So how we react to and how we look at things really can establish a really new mindset for us, a really fresh mindset, where we're getting a little bit of an idea of how we can change some patterns in our behavior that are always getting us the same results. And if we're getting the same results, then we know that it's not working, right? So some of the things that I help people with is, I always say, move through trauma and PTSD, move with it. It has to become yours. I talk about that a lot. And if it doesn't become yours and you don't own it, it will come back to bite you. It will come back in the form of triggers and memories and things that are not so good, not so healthy for your well-being. So if you own it and you live through and with it, and you move through and with it, as I always say, of course, I like the word move because we like movement, right? We like to exercise first in order to get rid of some anxiety and to feel good. But if we move with and through it, then we claim what we have done. We claim our reaction patterns to past trauma, to past difficulties. We claim the way that we could have had, maybe made different decisions, but we didn't. So we can find out where we can look at it and say, I could have done different there. But at this point, I'm actually, learning from it. I want to learn how to do it different, but I also want to claim the fact that I learned from it, that I did it different in the past. And a coach can be an accountability factor there, accountability person, right? So every week we just kind of go over it, like, what did you do? We have a variety of different ways to work together. We make it different, or we make a program that might be for all my clients different, but we make a program towards moving forward for 2 or 6 months. And I'm the one that says, did you do it? And I think that everybody needs an accountability coach when it comes to that, because I have a coach and I have a coach to hold me accountable for the goals that I have set towards my future that I really, really, really want to accomplish in order to fulfill my dream. Right. So in order to get that vision, to get that dream out there of what we dream about, we just have to kind of break it down in smaller, attainable, and smart goals so that we can follow a path to get there. And it's really good if you just have somebody to help you with that. It's not something that I know that you don't know. Like I said in the title, right? We all do know this, but sometimes we don't do it. And sometimes we need somebody that says, "Here, I'll help you with it," right? So in that way, life coaches are so wonderful. A wellness coach, a health coach. There's tons of different coaches with a different niche. Sometimes it's a financial coach. Sometimes it's a future planning coach. What I do, sometimes it's somebody that helps you just kind of set some new behavioral patterns and establish that new, fresh look for you. It can be a home makeover coach, right? Sometimes we just need to have a different look in life and just kind of go through a little transformation. And when I say transformation, it always has a lot to do with expectations, high expectations that we have of ourselves, really high expectations. Sometimes it has to do with expectations of others. And because those expectations were always out there, maybe that's why we constantly strangle ourselves and even boycott ourselves, because we feel that we have to live up to these expectations set by others or set by ourselves at some point, right? And sometimes we need to step out of that. It's not good. It's not healthy. It will drive you crazy. It will just you'll go into overdrive. You'll just be constantly working on, too much, too complicated, too much in a day, too much in a week. And you really can't see a way out anymore. We just put really high expectations on ourselves. I do that. Guilty. And it doesn't always mean that the coach does everything right herself, but at least, I have studied some of the things that I might see that might help us to move forwards a little bit. So while we're doing that, some of the things that I had experienced in my life, I will bring in to our coaching conversation. Sometimes I would say I've learned a lot just from doing everything wrong, right? But nowadays I say it's not wrong. I'm just glad that I kind of knew, but I didn't do it, right? And there was so much stuff that I didn't do and that I didn't know. And I'm glad that I know it now. One of my chapters in my book starts off with, I wish I would have known, but I'm glad I didn't. In other words, if you know this at a really young age and you're just kind of perfectly imperfect walking through life, then what is there left, right, to work on? So the things that we have experienced and the curveballs that our higher power threw us, they were there to definitely do something with and learn from. And I had to learn to own my mistakes. I had to learn to own my choices. I had to learn to actually see through it and find out why I did it. And that's where sometimes past trauma or past experience comes in. Because if you look at your past and there are things that were really painful, hurtful, or experienced as something negative in your life even, then that might later on kind of be triggered. And that same, it might be just something small, but that might just throw you overboard into a flash of PTSD or a flash of trauma, or even just an anxiety attack, the symptoms of depression. You just don't want to do it. You just don't want to get out. You just want to be on the couch. So that's why these things are so important to see. What have you done with everything? And what are you going to do with it now moving forwards? And that's why I love to help so much, because I kind of figured that stuff out for myself and with the help of others, of course. Because if you're getting through that, then you see and you start becoming aware of the choices that you make going forwards. And awareness, just really being in that moment of looking at it and say, oh, Eliane, this is one of those situations. You used to do this, but let's now take a deep breath. Let's look at our response. Let's look at my thoughts. Let's look at the things that I usually do, my reaction patterns, right? And what can I do different to change that outcome? And it's really wonderful in my experience and what I have myself experienced the last 2 years. Since I have worked constantly with other people, it's really just nice to get that feedback and say, yeah, that was good. But you see, that's where you kind of, and that's where you kind of went back to the same. And that was not serving you. That was not good for you. That was not healthy. So, and then from there on, when we establish these kind of thought patterns and that mindset and that awareness, that mindfulness of it, then you can really say, I'm glad I wish I would have known, but I'm glad I didn't, because now it starts to become really interesting. I start to see so many things. I start to realize so many things. And I really know now what can make me super happy and what can make me super confident and what can make me, be in a place of good self-esteem and just not always caring about everybody in the world, because I don't have to please everybody, right? There's just a few people that will come to me because they can see my light. And then there are some people that go somewhere else because they are attracted to somebody else. And that is exactly what we should see and what we should be really okay with. So if you're looking at those things, it becomes kind of like a little bit more interesting, right? Now you just kind of see through others too, and you start noticing their patterns, and you start to say, oh, yes, let's do this a little different, even in relationships. So when I work with couples, we look at those patterns, we look at that form of communication, we look at the same thing all the time. We look at that, and then we just kind of like throw in some new thought patterns and some new things that we can do for the relationship. So sometimes another thing that I talk a lot about, and I just write about that in my new book a lot, what to do with that shame and guilt. And I have always found, and I lived in shame and guilt for a long time, I've always found that that is not very healthy and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do you any good. Saying you're sorry? Absolutely. Making amends? Absolutely. But from there on, we kind of have to move through because we cannot beat ourselves up constantly all the time and just be really into that place of being angry and being resentful and feeling that irritation and feeling that low self-esteem and that negative thinking that comes with it. That is just not really healthy and not going anywhere. So if I can help you with that, absolutely. That's what we're really going to work on. Being shameful. Oh, I know the feeling. Oh, I know the feeling well. Being shameful and being ashamed of what you did. Is it ultimately really good for me? No. I have to say I'm sorry out loud, maybe to a lot of people, maybe to one person, and maybe to myself as well. I am sorry that you did that, but I cannot stay in that place. I can definitely not stay in that place. And another thing that I usually use for that is to look at that self-esteem, right? Look at our self-esteem, look at our confidence, look at how we feel about ourselves and what we can do with it, because that kind of moves us forward into a better place of self and better place of self-esteem, more confidence. Just letting go of that self-shame and that guilt and kind of like making amends makes you feel real good. But don't keep going. Don't stay in that place of constantly having to say, I'm so sorry. Others have to move with you. Others have to give you that sense of respect as well, right? That I know it. You told me you were sorry, and now we're all gonna let it go. You can't stay in that place. You have to let it go. As the receiver as well, if somebody tells you they're sorry in a very, very, very sincere way, from a very, very honest and sincere place, then you cannot be the person that makes them say that over and over again. If you lost trust, then just back off. If you have to gain trust again, or you think you can't trust them anymore, back off. Just let them do the work first. It is not healthy if we go over and over and over. Oh, but I can't trust you. I know you can't trust me. So that goes over and over again, and then we're not really a good support system if we keep going to the negative. And so if we want to move into the positive, we can say, I'll let you do. I know you might fall off the wagon, for instance, again, or I know you might have tendencies again. I'm going to be here for you. I want to be support, but I'm not going to nag you over and over again about the things that you shouldn't do. What can I help you towards the thing that you can do? Right? So these things are very, very important. And I love to play that by you. Another thing is that in that case, when you do that, then you can really respect somebody that you love. Because let them be themselves. Let them figure it out. Sometimes it's hard to set people free and not to control them, to try to do everything, especially in relationships coaching. I see that a lot. Just kind of like trying to deflect. Not really want to go inside yourself, but just kind of like keeping in that pattern of deflecting and trying to control the other party and be busy with the other party so that we don't have to look at ourselves. And sometimes we don't see it either. So that might be difficult. So from that perspective, sometimes we have to just set somebody free in the way they do things. I had to learn it the hard way. I like that portion of control, right? As a mom sometimes, or as a partner sometimes, like, but it is way healthier if we let that kind of stuff go. Or we just joke around about it, or we just laugh about it, or we can recognize it in each other and then start laughing. That's a healthy way of dealing with it. So we can definitely do that. And then when you set some kind of a little scheme to where you always, created awareness, you feel that you're doing it, and you can laugh about it, then you're in a really healthy place. Then you are really in a very healthy place. If you can feel that you're internalizing, that you create that mindfulness. You are in a mindful place. What did I just say? What did I just do? What did I just do with that? And then if you are in that place, then you can definitely move with that, recognize it, and just kind of do a different thing. Or take a deep breath, go walk it off, right? I talk a lot about exercise and movement, things, if you're getting too much of it, just things that you can do for yourself are definitely exercise and movement. Even if it's just taking a walk, or even if it's just going outside and smell nature and smell fresh air and just feel that flowing through your body so that you feel the healing powers that you already have inside yourself. It's very important to go with that. All these kind of points I mentioned in my biography, my memoir, 60 Miles from NEIMANS, that I published last year, available on Amazon. But I also talk about more extensively about these things and examples in my new book. And when we're talking about those things, those are just fun coaching, fun life things that you can see now is fun if you're aware of them. And if you see them and you can laugh about it, like, oh, that's what we always do. Now, when you're laughing and you see that you're always doing that, you always know that there can be another outcome as well. So that is a pretty good thing to see, just creating a little bit more knowledge of self. It's not always easy, and sometimes it's a painful road, and sometimes it's a painful road because we need our support system, our loved ones to go in that change, into transformation with us. And that is not always an easy thing to do, right? To get everybody to move with you. But what I definitely want to point out is that you need to do it yourself first. If you want to heal yourself and get into a better place and get rid of anxiety and stress and constantly be caught up in negative thinking and poor or low self-esteem, you need to be the one that has the drive and the will and the urge to change that. And then when you get into a better place, everybody will move with you, around you. And if they can't do that, then they don't need to be there. They don't really need to be there. Sometimes it's a matter of letting go, and sometimes it's a matter of holding on. Right? It's really important to find that balance in a lot of things in life. And I hope to help you with that as a life coach. And sometimes as a master coach, if you feel that you want to become a life coach, or you want to transition into a new career, or you're done with what you did and you love helping people, let me help you as a trainer, as a master coach, to become a life coach. So there's many ways you can reach out to me. Of course, www.elianhaan.com. All that information is on my channel on winwinwomen.tv. Winwinwomen.tv. That's where we all are. Keep looking up. That's where it all is. And I hope you find us, and I hope you find our little lessons. I hope you keep coming and watch next week. I will see you next week. Thank you for watching today. I will see you next week on Allianz Joy. I am grateful and blessed. See you next week. Namaste.